Imagine an ancient bone discovered in the African desert. No ordinary bone, but the 8 million-year-old fossil of a mysterious creature. A fossil that not only changes the map of human evolution, but also holds something older, deeper, and more surprising than we ever imagined. What is truly hidden beneath that bone? Who were the creatures that lived before all civilization began? And could they still exist, waiting deep within the earth? This story is not fiction. It is based on scientific discoveries, archaeological records, and questions that history has never answered. Listen carefully, because each chapter will bring you closer to secrets buried by time. If you have an opinion, a theory, or simply want to share your curiosity, leave a comment below. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and activate the bell so you don't miss the next incredible story. A gentle desert wind blew, sweeping the fine grains of sand across Ethiopia's Omo Valley. The sun shone brightly overhead, but that didn't deter a young paleoanthropologist named Dr. Malik Rafiq. For years, he had been obsessed with one big, unanswered question. Where did humans really come from? It was a typical day at the excavation site. Researchers were carefully combing the soil, brush after brush removing layers of age-old dust. But no one knew that in a few minutes, history would change forever. A field assistant called out to Dr. Malik. His hand pointed to something half buried in the dry soil. Malik hurried over. He knelt down and carefully lifted a brown bone fragment. It was oddly shaped, unlike any animal bone. There was a jaw arch that was human-like, yet also distinct. He squinted. The jaw appeared to have a strong muscular structure, small incisors, and a skull that was not perfectly symmetrical. He turned to his assistant, his eyes wide. "This is no ordinary fossil," he whispered. The excavation continued for hours. Piece after piece of bone was removed, cleaned, and arranged. What was revealed stunned everyone. A nearly complete skeleton of a creature that walked upright, but not yet fully human. Its age was estimated at 8 million years, far older than any known ancient human fossil, such as Australopithecus or even Sahelanthropus. Dr. Malik immediately contacted the Central Laboratory in Nairobi. The fossil was shipped under the most careful conditions. Meanwhile, news of the discovery began to slowly spread among scientists. Some doubted its authenticity, but others were intrigued. They knew that if this were true, everything could change. But Dr. Malik sensed something deeper than mere bones. He began having strange dreams, as if summoned by something far older than time. Silent voices echoed in the silence. He sensed that this fossil was not merely the remains of an ancient creature. There was a history older than civilization, buried beneath the layers of time. And he had only just scratched the surface. The Paleogenetics Laboratory in Nairobi was bustling with activity. Experts were busy setting up instruments, scanning fossil fragments, and matching data against ancient genome databases from around the world. Behind the laboratory's glass window, Dr. Malik stood staring at the reddening afternoon sky. In his hands, he held the preliminary results of a carbon analysis that had just come back. 8.2 million years, he murmured softly. This surpasses all our records. Professor Akil Mbe, a molecular geneticist, walked over to him with a tablet. He didn't say much, just showed him a strange graph that didn't match anything previously discovered. "There's a unique genetic structure," Professor Akil said. "It's not quite human, but it's not quite primate either. It's like a bridge." Dr. Malik swallowed. A bridge between what? Was this the true ancestor of humanity? In the evenings, Malik sat alone in the Institute's old library. He pored over classic journals, expedition logs from the 19th century, and ancient geological maps. He found a pattern. The Omo Valley wasn't the only strange spot. Two other locations, in Chad and Sudan, had recorded similar finds, but they never received attention. The deeper he dug into the old records, the clearer a picture began to emerge. Like footprints left by an unknown creature, hidden in the shadows of history. Meanwhile, in the lab, the team made a startling discovery. Inside the fossil's skull cavity, they detected the remains of dried, fossilized brain tissue. The tissue still retained the faint outlines of neuronal structures. An impossible finding for such an ancient fossil. Even more surprising, the thermography scanner detected a strange, repeating pattern at the base of the skull. It looked like a small carving. Not natural. As if manufactured. Professor Akil stood rigid. This isn't just a fossil. This might be a biological artifact. Once thought. It might have spoken. The words echoed in Malik's head. If that were true, this creature possessed consciousness. It might have been the first ancestor to understand itself. But if so, where did they go? What happened to them? And why didn't anyone know until now? A few weeks later, Dr. Malik and his team set off for the second location he had discovered in the ancient journal, a remote desert on the border of Chad and Sudan. The place was known locally by a name that meant, the Silent Land. There were no animals, no sounds, only the wind and a silence that seemed to hold an ancient secret. They arrived at dawn. The sand felt colder than usual. Their footsteps left thin footprints that quickly disappeared. Malik felt the air heavier, as if carrying something invisible. The excavation began. A few meters below the surface, they discovered a large, unusually shaped rock. Its surface was flat and hard, with symmetrical ridges. They assumed it was simply a geological phenomenon. But when the rock was moved, the ground beneath it collapsed, revealing a narrow shaft leading into the bowels of the earth. With a rope and a headlamp, Malik descended first. The passage was narrow, cool, and winding. The smell of wet earth mixed with something he couldn't quite describe, like burnt metal and ash. After a few dozen meters, the passage widened, opening into a vast room covered in strange paintings. Not animal carvings, not ancient symbols, but figures of creatures standing upright, lined up, arms raised, and in the center, a larger figure holding some kind of glow stick. On the floor of the room, they found a second skeleton. It was similar in shape to the first fossil, but this time it was in a prostrate position, and beneath its arm was embedded a small tablet containing barely legible scratches. The team brought the tablet back to Nairobi. Using a sophisticated scanning microscope, the patterns were finally decoded. Not a language, not a code, but a kind of frequency, a signal. They sent the results to a radio wave research center in Sweden, and the results silenced the entire room. The signal was still active, came from deep within the earth. Deeper than any point humans had ever explored. Dr. Malik stared at the screen without blinking. They're not extinct. They're waiting. No one dared answer. Because behind the discovery, they knew, human history is not a straight line moving forward, but a circle. A great cycle that had been broken. And now that cycle was beginning to unfold again. In the African sky that night, the stars shone brighter than usual. And the world was changing,